Hey guys, how are you all? I'm really excited to be filming a makeup video. So I get asked all the time about my favorite makeup products and how I create that signature look. Now you guys know that I'm all about the glow. Obviously I'm a combination to oily girly, and there's a fine line between looking dewy and greasy. So I'm going to be showing you with some of my favorite products how I achieve my signature glow, but still keeping it cute, especially because it's summertime. And if you're anything like me, I am a sweaty Betty. I get shiny, but I want to minimize that as much as possible. So again, prep is super important. I've hydrated my skin, but I'm gonna go in with some priming products and hydrating products. I'm actually gonna start off with a brand new product. Now this is the Maybelline Grippy Serum. I'm really intrigued by this product. One, because it's a serum, but it actually has a claim to really lock in and grip that makeup. So I'm gonna pop a little bit of that on to my skin, and I'll apply it onto the areas that I really want my makeup to sit beautifully. But I just love the texture, and it's really cooling on the skin. So for me, I'm gonna really focus on applying that around the T-zone area, anywhere that I would naturally get quite shiny, and just smooth that onto the skin. And I really love how this feels on my skin. It literally feels quite tacky, which is what you kind of want when you want your products to kind of sit really well. And I'm applying it mainly to my T-zone area. So for example, my forehead, my nose, anywhere that I might get a bit of texture and experience a little bit of that shine. I've seen a few of the girlies actually sticking products to their skin to feel and show how tacky it is. Am I gonna be brave enough to do this? Let's try. But I can already feel on contact how like grippy this product is. I'm gonna see if I can find something that I can kind of like stick to my skin. Okay, should we try this? Oh, is that working? Okay, maybe it's not that. Oh, a little bit. It's definitely tacky, and it has that grippiness to it. So I'm really excited about that. So that's kind of the first product and a new in product that I'm really excited about. We're gonna go in with an old favorite, the Danessa Myricks Yummy Skin Blurring Balm Powder. I did a video on this recently because I had a few people asking me questions about which one to go for, who is it good for. I'm obsessed with this product. It's so good. And the key benefit with it is that it's really good to help smooth the skin, any texture that you might have as well, and just keep the skin looking really nice and blurred and perfected. So I'm gonna take a small brush. I'm actually using the Joy Adenuga brushes, which you guys know that I love. I'm just smoothing that onto my skin. So again, you're gonna apply this onto the skin. Now I think where people's main concern is that it looks like a balm. Like, how does this work? And the beauty of it is that it actually works as a balm product, but then it kind of like settles down onto a powder. I'm just applying it onto one side of my skin, but just look how beautiful that is. Like, it really just sits onto the skin. It comes in a universal one, which basically has no tint to it. And then obviously you have the ones that like your skin tone. I actually wear shade 8 in the Yummy Skin Blurring Balm, but the tinted version. And then you have the Universal Radiant, which has no color in it, but it has that golden hue, which is really good if you like that radiance. They all work in the same way, which basically means that they work to minimize the appearance of any excess shine and oil on the skin, but give you that really beautiful blurred finish as well, which I absolutely love. I mean, that just looks amazing. I hope you guys can see that on camera, and just the difference of how it kind of makes your skin look amazing. Now, the beauty with this is that you can actually wear it on its own. You can wear it with your foundation on top, which is what I'm gonna be doing. But I love to kind of use it as like a primer. So you can use as much as little as you want. I'm gonna take a little bit more actually and just kind of pop it onto the back of my hand. But it's just so good at just blurring any sort of areas of any texture and just giving you that smooth finish as well. And again, if you want to, you can just wear this on its own, but I'm actually gonna be using it as like a primer for makeup. So just smoothing that in. And let me know in the comment section if you've tried this product before. I get so many questions about it, but I would say that this is probably one of my top 5 most used products in my makeup routine. I just love it. And I really notice a difference, and especially when I'm doing my makeup, when I've used the blurring balm powder and when I haven't. So if you are a combination to oily girl, or you do find that you get a little bit shiny throughout the day, this product is perfect. So next we're gonna go into base. Now, because it is warmer, we're actually experiencing really good weather at the moment, which I'm very excited about. I do tend to switch up my foundations and bases. So I'm actually gonna go in with the Hourglass Tinted Veil. I really love this. It's very lightweight. And actually, I find that I like to go in with a lighter coverage, especially at this time of the year, because I don't like anything too heavy on my skin. And then you can build up that extra coverage with a bit of concealer. So I'm gonna go in with this. I've got 2 shades here. I've got 14 and 15. I'm gonna see which one works best for my skin tone. But because it is a skin tint, it's a bit more flexible, meaning that if it's not the perfect match, it's fine because it tends to kind of just blend into the skin really beautifully. So I'm gonna apply a little bit of that on with a brush. Again, I'm using one of the dried and nougat brushes. I'm just gonna kind of smooth it into my skin. But this just gives the most gorgeous finish. Just tapping and blending that into the skin. And I like to use what we call a stippling motion, which basically means that I'm not buffing into the skin too much, because sometimes that can create a lot of texture. I'm also taking the product and just tapping that into the skin and just blending that in. But I just love how this just sits onto the skin so beautifully. And you know me, I'm always going to give you the tea, so I tend to just do one side of my face first, just so you can see how this looks on its own without any extra kind of coverage on one side. So I'm just smoothing that in and blending that in with the brush. And you can just see how that just goes in seamlessly. It looks like skin, it feels like skin. It's given pretty decent coverage. And again, what I'll probably do is that if I need any extra coverage, I will tend to kind of add that with my concealer as opposed to with the tinted veil. And that just looks amazing, super lightweight. So I'm gonna go in with another amount on the other side. And you'll notice that I'm always using the back of my hand as kind of like my palette. This is so important, especially if you find that when you put makeup on, it just tends to look really, really heavy. Always apply your product onto the hand first and then buff it into the brush. That way you're controlling the amount of coverage that you're getting and it looks more natural and seamless. So I'm just kind of smoothing that in. And always make sure you're blending down onto the neck area and the chest area if you need to. You can go down as far as you need. Really working that into the forehead. And I actually like tinted products at this time of the year, especially because you might find that because of the exposure to sun, you're slightly warmer than your usual shade. When you commit to a foundation, that's like your perfect match at the time, but you might find that now you're slightly deeper. So what you don't want to do is obviously buy a full foundation, then it's too light for you and it looks ashy and grey. Go for a skin tint. It's more skin-like, it feels more natural, more lightweight, more breathable. And then that way, it kind of just like, you know, you can kind of alternate it and smooth it into the skin. And it's great at this time of the year when you're kind of like in between shades. So I'm just buffing that in. I just love how that looks. And then what I will then go in with is the concealer. Now I'm actually gonna go in with the Hourglass concealer, which I'm really loving because I learned that this concealer is actually waterproof. And I realized, why am I reaching for it so much? Why do I love it? This is the perfect reason why. The longevity and the long wear stay is fantastic. And you need those sort of like foolproof, long wear, waterproof products to give you that longevity. So we're gonna go in with a bit of concealer to add a bit of coverage, but also to help with things like under eye darkness. You don't wanna layer too much of the skin tint under those eye areas. You want something quite lightweight and kind of specified for that area. Now what I want to do actually now is go in with a bit of bronzer. Bronzer is one of my favorite things, especially at this time of the year where you're a bit warmer. You can really utilize bronzer as a way to kind of add that warmth to the skin, emulate that bronzy glow, but also as well give you that really nice radiant finish. I love to use a cream bronzer. This one by NARS is one of my favorites. It's the Laguna cream bronzer. I use the shade number 4. And this product is so good. It just blends into the skin seamlessly. And because it's a cream, you can really work it into the skin so it looks skin-like. I do tend to layer a powder bronzer later, but if you're just looking for a one and done product, a cream bronzer is really where it's at. So we're just buffing that into the areas that you would naturally get that warmth to the skin. That typically tends to be the high points of the face. So for example, your cheekbones, again, a great way to add that definition and really sculpt and define the face. I love to go in with some bronzer onto my hairline area and your forehead. Now this is really, really key because a lot of the time you might find that you've got quite a lot of color around the hairline, and that's typically because your forehead is the highest point of your face. It comes in direct contact with the sun, And so what you want to do is just add that warmth back in with the bronzer. So you can see that I'm really working that into my hair. And this is so important because what you don't want to have is that sort of gap between your hairline and your forehead. So you really want to make sure that you're blending that in. And then also just under the jawline, taking it right down onto the neck and the chest area. And actually take that right down because what you don't want to have is what we call lollipop head, where your face is one color and your neck is different. You really want that seamless blend of colors to make everything look nice and even. So really working that into the skin, and just the transformation by using bronzer is just one of my favorite things. It really does lend to give you that really lovely bronze look, that sculpted look and that definition, but also add that warmth, that sun-kissed look and that glow. A lot of the times when you're looking for that sort of like warmth and that bronzy glow, comes with the bronzer. So definitely go for a cream bronzer. The Laguna one from Hourglass is one of my all-time favorites. So I'm just buffing that into the areas and then really working that into the skin. I love this brush. This is actually the 004 multi-use brush from Danessa. I really love her brushes. I think they're really beautiful. They're synthetic, but also really good because they're multi-use. And this angled one is great because it really hugs the contours of the face very naturally. That way you get a really even blend, and then you'll see that I'm taking that down onto my neck and chest. I also like to take a little bit of the brush and use that to kind of carve out a bit of definition on my nose. And then a really good pro tip is to take whatever's left of your bronzer and use it on your eyes. So most of the time, if anyone asks me, what eyeshadow have you got on? 9 times out of 10, it's my bronzer. It's a great way to add that warmth to the eye. You have this really beautiful carved out definition and you're not having to commit to an actual eyeshadow shade. So I really love this. That's pretty much done with the complexion. We're gonna go in with a little bit of concealer now. So remember I was saying to you that I love the Hourglass concealers. I've got a couple of shades here that I'm gonna go in with. Might use Umber. And yeah, apply that onto the skin. When it comes to concealer, less is more in my opinion. You don't need to go crazy with it. I see so many people going in with like huge stripes of concealer. You'll notice that for me, I like to just take a small amount onto the areas that I need to, and then really work to kind of buff that into the skin. So I'm gonna use a little bit of the Hourglass concealer, and then I'm gonna go in with a brush and just blend that out. And then again, I'm just tapping that into the skin. So I'm taking that same technique that I used when I applied the skin tint. And this is again what we call stippling. Now stippling is a great technique because it allows you to really work the product into the skin without creating too much texture. So I'm just tapping and blending that in, like so. I also like to use a little bit just under the sort of jawline area to create a little bit of definition. And then just really blending that in. And I just love this concealer because it really blends to the skin beautifully but gives great coverage. And then whatever's left on my brush, if there's any areas that I want to kind of conceal on my face, such as any areas of hyperpigmentation, I can just take the excess that's left on the brush and just kind of tap that in. Another thing that I've done is that I've done the bronzer first. Kind of is like, oh, I can have a bit of bronzer, but it doesn't look like I'm wearing too much. So it's kind of like neither here nor there, which is really, really beautiful. How's the skin looking, guys? Let me know. So that's pretty much my base done. I'm actually gonna let it sit for a while before I go in with any powder, and I'm gonna do my brows. My brows I tend to do in a couple of stages. I love to use a pencil first. My go-to has been this one from Kosas. This is the Brow Pop, and I'm using like a black brown shade, which I really, really love. I love that you've got the brush on one end, so you can kind of like brush the hairs and see exactly where you want to apply the product. And then you can just fill it in super naturally as well. And it's this really thin wand, which I really, really enjoy. So it's very good for defining. Now, I don't use a lot of product, but just a little bit. My brows have been professionally microbladed, so I don't need to do much to them. I just kind of fill it in when there's any gaps. I'm just smoothing that in like so. And then I kind of flip it around and use like the tip of the pencil just to kind of do any extra brow hairs that I want to achieve. I mean, the great thing is that I always go back in with the brush and just brush out any excess. So that's kind of my go-to with this pencil. And I'm hardly touching the brows. It's just a little, goes a long way. Just smoothing that in. It's more the tail end of the brows that I tend to kind of like focus my attention to more so. And then I love this product actually. I didn't know much about it, but I went to a masterclass with Anastasia Beverly Hills, and Anastasia herself gave a little masterclass to us, and she's literally the queen of brows. And she showed me this product, which is really lovely. I have a bit of warmth in my hair, so she was like, use this, and it's actually in the color Auburn, but it's really good just to kind of add that little bit of depth to my brows, fluff them up and just add a little bit of color, which I really love. So I'm just taking a little bit of that, brushing it through. And then we're going to finish off with a brow gel. So again, I'm going to go in with the, actually I might use, yeah, the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Freeze. I love this product, it's so good. A lot tends to sit on the actual wand itself, so I kind of brush off the excess and then just brush it through. What I love about this is that once it's on, it does not move. It's so good. It just gives you that defined look without looking too heavy. You don't get that stickiness or that residue. And then I just use the edge of my brush just to kind of clean up the edges and then just let that sit. So that's the brows done, really quick and simple and easy. So now that that's done, we're actually going to set the makeup with a bit of powder. So my go-to and one of my favorites is the Huda Beauty powder. Now I go through different shades, but my current favorite at the moment is Peach Pie. I really love Peach Pie. Again, it's a really good shade because it has a bit of that color correcting to it as well. And I always tend to use a powder puff. My reason for using a powder puff is it really helps to kind of lay the powder onto the skin flawlessly, and you get an even distribution. So if you're ever wondering how, you know, the makeup artists get that really flawless, like undetectable finish when they're applying powder, because for a lot of people, when they apply the powder, that's where they're really worried. They're like, the powder makes my skin look really cakey, it creates texture. Not if you're using a powder puff. So that's one of my go-to tips. I use the top of the lid, and then I just press the powder into the puff, and then I apply the powder to the makeup, and I'm just tapping that in to the skin. Now just really make sure that you're pushing that into the skin. And this is also really important because it also helps to smooth out any texture. If you find that your concealer creases or it moves, this is one of the best ways to remove that texture and to lock everything in. So I find that with me doing this technique, I don't experience any of that creasing under my eyes. Really smooth that into the skin. And I really focus on any areas that I get quite shiny. So my under eye, around my nose, so important. My chin area, just tapping and smoothing that in. If you find that you get smile lines that come through, this is a really good tip and technique. And you'll notice that most, if not every makeup artist that's professional will always use a powder puff to set and lay down their powder products. One of the best things that you can do. And really work to kind of smooth that into the skin. And don't worry if you feel like, oh, it looks a bit much at the moment. Once you kind of go in with your setting sprays, your fixing sprays, all that kind of thing, and then adding a bit of that hydration to the skin, it will start to look like skin. But you kind of need this sort of step to kind of lock everything in initially. And then because it is a brightening powder, I'll obviously go in with a bronzing powder just to kind of add a bit of that color back to the skin. I'm now gonna go in with the YSL bronzing powder, which is one of my absolute favorites. I'm using shade 5, and it's the All Hours bronzing powder. So again, the same way that I applied that powder initially, the bronzing cream, I'm gonna go in with this. We're just gonna smooth it onto the skin. So it's the same points that I used previously, really working that into the skin. I'm actually even going to put this on the eyes as well. And this will just start to kind of like give you that uniformity and that colour back to the skin as well. And then I always take it down onto the neck and the chest area as well, just to make sure that everything blends. Now what I am going to do is take a little bit of the bronzer, the bronzing powder. I'm going to apply that onto my eye area. This will be really good if you find that your eyes can be a little bit oily, and also just to add a bit of warmth and colour to your crease. So I'm taking it onto the eyelid through the socket as well. So you want to lay it on first and then blend that through. So I'm going to let that sit, let the complexion kind of like sit for a little bit, and then we're going to go on to eyes. So for the eyes, I've got this really beautiful palette from Charlotte Tilbury that I purchased recently that I'm really loving. I just love all the colours. It's actually called Sensual Sunset. It really does remind me of the sunset, these colours, so I really like it. And I'm going to take a couple of the shades and apply that onto my eyelids. I'm actually going to start off with this sort of neutral colour here, which I think is called Matte Silk. I'm just going to take that. And what's really great about this palette is that you can do an everyday sort of more matte eye, and then you can obviously go in with the sort of shimmery shades to make it more appropriate for the evening, or if you want to add a bit of that shimmer. So with any of these kind of shades, I always tap off the excess so you're not getting any fallout. And then when you apply an eyeshadow, what you want to do is press it onto the eyelid first and then blend it through the socket. And this is really important because you want to ensure that you're allowing the eyeshadow to kind of lock onto the eyelid first before you proceed to blending. I think that's where you get a lot more fallout, is that people just go straight in with the blending, and that's where you're going to get a lot of loose product and pigment flying everywhere. So what you want to do first of all is tap off the excess pigment, but also lay your eyeshadow down first with that tapping motion. And then you want to kind of blend through. And blending is so important because what you don't want to have is any harsh lines or edges when it comes to your eyeshadow. Now I'm actually going in with one of my favorite eyeliners. This is the Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal pencils. And what I love about these is that you can really lay your eyeliner down, but also kind of go in with like a smoky look and kind of blend it out. So you'll notice that with this, I'm really focusing on getting the eyeliner onto the eyelid first and foremost. So lay the eyeliner on first. Don't worry about it looking perfect. Just get it really close to the lash line. If you find that you've gone a little bit kind of, you know, not neat and it's moving, that's fine, because what we're going to do is take an eyeshadow and blend it out. But your focus should be is getting it really close to the liner, the lash line, sorry, and there should be no gaps whatsoever. So you shouldn't see any gaps between your eyeline, your lash line and the eyeliner. Once that's done, I'm taking like a flat brush like this, and I'm just going to start smoking out that liner. So you want to get a brush that's quite small, nothing too big, nothing too heavy, and then just proceed to blend out that line. So you're creating this really beautiful, soft, smoky eyeline look with this eyeliner. And look, it's not perfect, but you're just laying it down, and that's fine because I'm actually going to go in with a liquid liner afterwards. But I kind of wanted to go in with this to kind of create the base of the eye look. And then I'm just going to lift out the outer corner with the brush to blend out. So hopefully you guys can see, but I'm just focusing on getting that blended right through and seamlessly. And I actually really love this technique, especially if you have hooded eyes, tight lining, or creating that lined effect at the lash line. It distracts from this area, which for most people that have hooded eyes, they don't really have a lot of eyelid space. And it creates more definition at your lash line, which also makes your lash line look thicker and your lashes look thicker. And it creates a new focal point. So instead of you focusing on the area here where you might, you know, be more conscious because you have that hoodedness, you can create a bit more definition at the lash line, and then that way everyone's attention is drawn more to your lashes. So this is a really good technique to open up your eyes if you've got hooded eyes. If you are somebody that struggles with doing eyeliner, having the backdrop of the pencil first means that you've got somewhere to kind of sketch and line over. And it also means as well is that you don't have to worry about making mistakes because you've got the lash line as like your focal point with the liner. So we're just drawing that on, and then I'm just going over the lash line now with the pen. I can't talk and do this at the same time, so if I go a bit quiet, that's why. And that's why I really like this, because if I didn't have the pencil that I use as like my initial liner, you don't have to do the 2 steps, by the way, you could just do the pencil and then smudge it out and leave it. But I feel like this allows me to kind of like not be so precise with the liquid liner and get more of a smoky liner effect, which I really enjoy. And I don't have to be as neat. Like that. I'm gonna go in with lashings of mascara now. Loads and loads of mascara. In fact, what I might do is curl my lashes. I've been doing this more and more recently, and I really love how it allows me to kind of open up my eyes and really give me that lifted look with my lashes. So I'm gonna go in with my Shimmerer eyelash curlers. Really make sure that you're pumping those lashes and kind of opening up the eye. And then what you wanna do is go straight in with your mascara. So don't wait, because you wanna lock in that curl with your mascara. This is the IT Cosmetics Superhero Mascara, which I really love. Great for lengthening and volume and extending the lashes as well. I feel like this makes my lashes look so long. And notice how I always have a compact mirror in hand when I'm applying mascara. The reason being is that this allows me to tilt my head back slightly and look down into my mirror. That way, I'm not gonna get that knockback of mascara going onto my eyelids, because my eyelids are open. And also, it means I can get right to the base of my lashes and really grab every single lash. And then look down and put the mascara onto your bottom lashes. I actually forgot the falsies that I usually wear today, but I actually quite like that. Not everyday lashes. Sometimes just make the most of your own lashes and give you that definition. So yeah, but honestly guys, look at the difference. Can you see that? I'm somebody that is not blessed with a lot of lashes. I'm part of the itty bitty lashes community, but with a good mascara and good placement of liner, you can really cheat that false eye effect, false lash effect, I should say. I love that. That's really, really good. I'm so excited to be like sharing long form content with you guys, which you guys can like sit down and watch at your own time. And let me know, like, do you watch a lot of long form content? Because that's the kind of only content that I consume. Like, I love sitting down and watching makeup tutorials, vlogs, that kind of thing, and just sitting down with a cup of tea or hot chocolate in my case, and just like taking my time to really like soak up all the information. Because sometimes like these like sort of short form content, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, it's not enough. You need a bit more time. So this is great. So just smoothing that in. Wow, I love that. It's giving cat eye. Loving it. Okay, cool. So that's my eyes pretty much done. And I only really use that one color here in the palette. When it comes to palettes like this, people are always asking me like, how do I use certain shades? And there's always this kind of like rule that I love to live by. It's not, you know, a rule that you have to do, but this is how it makes sense in my head. So you want these sort of colors to be like your base colors. You have a warm color that you can put through your socket and your crease for a bit of definition. You can even use this really beautiful cranberry shade. Then any colors like this are really good to use at your lash line to kind of smoke it out. So if you didn't want to use a pencil or liquid liner, you can take a angled brush like this and just trace along your lash line to give you a bit of definition, so it's like a liner. So anytime you have a dark color like that, always think of it as like a liner, an eyeliner. This will be great as a brow bone highlight, so if you want to kind of give you that illusion of a lifted brow bone or add a bit of definition there, you can go in with like a brighter color there. These are great maybe to take your eyeshadow looks from day to night and give you a bit more definition. So I love palettes like this because you don't have too many colors that you wouldn't use. I would use any of those colors in there. Let me know if you want me to do more of a detailed eye tutorial, and I can show you how I'd use all of the colors in here. I'm gonna go in with the Mineralized Face Powder from MAC. I love this powder. What I love about it is it really works to just kind of bring my complexion to life and just make everything look a little bit more skin-like. So what I do is I kind of dust off the excess of the Huda Beauty powder with this powder. And again, the difference with this is more of like a finishing powder for my complexion, whereas the Huda Beauty is more of like a setting powder. So this will lock your makeup in, keep everything looking nice and flawless. This will just help to kind of make the skin look more skin-like, add that sort of smoothness to the skin. And again, you would use this more for touch-ups as well. So I would kind of take this powder, or another one that I really love for finishing my makeup is the Charlotte Tilbury. This is also a fantastic powder. So I like to use a small brush like this, and then I would focus on using this again under my eye area and just have this in my handbags for touch-ups throughout the day. So it's looking a little bit more flawless. So that's pretty much that done. Let's do a little bit of blush. Now this is actually the Danessa Myricks one. A lot of people will say, but you've put powder on, how are you going to go in with a cream? The beauty of this is that it comes as a cream but goes down to like a powder, so it's a balm to powder formulation. So that's why I really love the Danessa Myricks formulations, is that they're really good to be applied at any stage of your makeup routine. You don't have to just only apply it at, like, for example, the beginning and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply that onto my cheeks, just to add a bit of life back into the skin. Oh, this is such a beautiful color. This is the Spice Latte. Beautiful, beautiful shade. Again, just applying that onto the cheeks and blending that up into the hairline. And this is so important because what you want to have is that really lovely lifted look to your blush, which is really pretty. So I'm just smoothing that onto the skin. Sometimes I put a little bit of my blush on my nose because I love that seamless finish of color, and just always making sure that you're blending upwards. I'm actually going to take a bit of that color and apply that to my lips as well. That's the beautiful thing about Danessa Myricks products, is that they're great as like a lip and cheek moment. So now we're going to pop on a bit of lip liner. This is the Chestnut Lip Liner, one of my all-time favorites from MAC. And then because I want that kind of monochromatic look with the lip and cheek, I'm going to take the same color that I use on my cheeks onto my lips. This is the Spice Latte that I use as the blush. So I'm just using this as a lip color and really working that into the lips but blending that in. So pretty. So you can leave it like that if you wish to, but I'm actually going to go in with a gloss because I'm a gloss girly. Like, I can't not do a lip without adding some form of like sheen or gloss to it. So this one is a new one that I haven't used before. It's from Giorgio Armani. And I'm just going to focus that on the center. Oh yeah, that's nice. Well, these are the Prisma. Yeah, the Prisma Glass Icy lip plumping situations. That's nice. So I don't want to do anything that's going to take away from the color, just accentuate it ever so slightly. Okay, that's pretty. I like that. Okay, now I want to make the skin look really, really beautiful. I'm going to go in with the Easy Bake setting spray from Huda Beauty. I've used it a couple of times. I really, really like it. I'm kind of on the fence in terms of like how it works in terms of longevity. So I might do a video later on where I can kind of do a wear test with it for the day, see how it works. But so far, so good, and how it makes my skin look, I really enjoy. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that. I say a little bit and I've gone in. But yeah, that's going to help to kind of make the makeup look a bit more skin-like, give me that really, really beautiful finish, and take away any of that sort of powdery look that you might find once you've applied your powder. But so far, so good. I'm really, really enjoying how my makeup is looking so far. And then I might add a bit of glow with one of my favorite products. I don't know if they still use or do this one, because these Hourglass palettes tend to be limited edition. but I just love the way that you can apply it onto certain areas, like for example your cheeks, to give you that beautiful sheen. Let me know what you guys think so far. But I'm really enjoying how this looks. So I'm going to take a little bit of this. Now with this palette, I tend to use kind of like the highlighting colours and a bit of these sort of peachy shades. And then I'm going to apply that onto the high points of the face. So just here where I want to add a bit of that glow. I hope you guys can see this on the camera, but it just gives the most gorgeous sheen to my makeup. It's like one of my cheats to adding glow to the skin. And then again, you can do a bit down the center of the nose, the cupid's bow. And then you could do a little bit on the brow bone if you want a bit more of a pop. So that's pretty much that. What I then like to do is just go back in with a bit of powder once I've finished and just add those finishing touches where I need to. So my go-to powder would be the Charlotte Tilbury. And then you'll notice that I'm just taking the smallest amount and then just applying that onto areas that I might see a bit of that pocket of shine coming through. And that's the beauty with this powder, is that it's so good at just using on certain areas. So if you feel like your smile lines are coming through around the mouth, top lip, I always get such a sweaty top lip, forehead, just to kind of, you know, keep everything looking nice and flawless. And then I always tend to avoid the cheek area because that's where I want the glow to come through. So you'll notice that this area here where I've put the Danessa Myricks blush and then the Hourglass highlighter, I haven't put any sort of extra powder. I've avoided those areas completely because I want the skin to look nice and glowy and dewy. So that's the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know, what was your favorite part? Have you got any other ideas of any other videos that you'd like me to film? Let me know and I can get those done for you. But thank you so much for watching, and let me know which part you really loved in this video, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.